ever come across a forensic story that's so out there you can't help but wonder if reality took a detour into the Twilight Zone? Well, buckle up because we've got a lineup that's gonna make your eyebrows reach new heights. In today's video, we have a doctor pulling off some DIY blood magic, a guy claiming his alter ego is the real culprit, and floating feet causing a stir along a lonesome highway. Sound like a wild ride? Trust us, it gets even wilder. We've uncovered 10 forensic cases that'll have you questioning everything you thought you knew about crime solving. Ready for the roller coaster? Let's dive in. Number 1, Dr. John Schneberger. Dr. John Schneberger was a well-known and beloved doctor in Kipling, Canada, before he was found guilty of 2 counts of sexual assault in 1999. His first victim was a 23-year-old patient called Candace, who he is said to have drugged and then attacked in his exam room. The second person he hurt was his granddaughter, who is 13 years old and told the same horrible story. Dr. Schneberger was forced to give blood for 2 DNA tests after Candace told the police about her attack. The case was over when both tests came back clean. The cops didn't know what to do, so Candace did something herself. She hired a private detective to get a sample of Schneberger's DNA. The detective was able to get a match between the DNA from the doctor's lips and the DNA from the crime scene. The evidence was thrown out of court, though, because they got it without a search. Dr. Schneberger was not charged when Lisa Schneberger said that he abused her 13-year-old daughter in January 1998. The doctor then got another DNA test. The cops didn't want to take any risks this time, though. His blood wasn't taken from his arm, it was taken from his fingers. The tester also got swabs of hair and breath. The samples matched, and he was put on trial again. With a lot of proof against him, the doctor admitted to his clever plan. He had been collecting blood from patients and surgically implanting a thin rubber tube next to his vein under the skin of his wrist. The worker took someone else's blood from the tube when he took blood for the first rape charges. Dr. Schneberger was found guilty of rape and obstructing justice and given a 6-year jail term. Number 2, the Zoo Man's split personality. It happened in the early 1990s, just east of Knoxville, Tennessee. A shooter found the body of a woman who was decomposing on October 20, 1992. She was recognized as Patty Anderson, a woman from the area who had been reported missing not long ago. Soon after her body was found, cops found 2 more bodies in the woods, both of them bound and dumped there. 2 of them had been there for a while and were missing some body parts. One had just been killed. On October 27, the mostly decomposed body parts of a 4th victim were found in the same general area. The police were able to link the deaths to one person, Thomas D. Husky. It turned out to be one of the strangest and most expensive trials in Tennessee's history. Bill Bates, the forensic scientist working on the case, worked non-stop to figure out how the women were killed, how they were related, and why their bodies were so badly mangled. He finally decided that all 4 of the women were whores. There were marks on the women's necks that suggested they had been strangled to death, and the strange damage to their bodies was thought to be caused by wild animals. But there was a problem. The police couldn't get any DNA evidence from the victims because the bodies had been harmed so badly by animals. Despite this, Thomas D. Husky was finally named by police as the likely killer of the women because of his reputation. Prostitutes in the area called him the Zoo Man because he would beat up prostitutes behind the zoo. When Husky was caught and questioned, he admitted to killing all 4 women, but that's when things got really strange. Husky said that the killings were actually done by his alter ego, Kyle. Finally, he changed into a British man named Philip Dax, who said that his job was to keep Tom safe from Kyle. The judge called a mistrial because the jury couldn't agree on a decision. In 2002, when he was tried again, his first murder statement was thrown out. Husky is currently in jail for 44 years on 3 counts of rape. The prosecution hasn't decided if they will try him again for the killings. Number 3. The murder of Leanne Tian. In the summer of 2001, a body was discovered in Linley Woods in West Yorkshire, England. The body belonged to Leanne Tian, a 16-year-old who had gone missing months before while going home with a friend after Christmas shopping. When Leanne's body was found, she had a plastic bag around her head that was held in place by a dog collar, a zip tie, and a scarf. Her arms were also tied together with zip ties, and she was wrapped in green trash bags and twine all over her body. She was then wrapped in a flowery duvet a second time. The police were able to find the people who sold the dog collar and found a man who had bought several collars that looked like the one that was around Leanne's neck. This man was a poacher named John Taylor, and he often hunted in the same woods where Leanne's body was found. Also, the unique twine that was wrapped around Leanne's body was made by a source in Devon and is used for rabbit nets. There was also a link between the twine and John Taylor. When they checked his house, they found more of the same twine, zip ties, and dog collars. The forensic team also found dog hair on Leanne's body. The hair was sent to a university in Texas, where scientists had already used hair DNA samples to create a method for tracking pedigreed pets. Though they were able to make a rough picture of the dog, they were not able to connect the dog hairs to Taylor because the dog he had when Tiernan went missing had already died. While no one was ever found guilty, this was the first time in British history that dog DNA was used as physical proof in a crime case. Number 4. Kathy Mabry and the West Phenomenon. In short, the killing of 39-year-old Kathy Mabry was very, very bad. Kathy's body was found in an empty house in 1997. It was determined that someone had raped her and then cut her face and throat with a dull, old razor blade. She was just left on the floor to bleed out and die. A small town in Mississippi was shocked by the story. The murder of Kathy Mabry raised a lot of questions that didn't seem to have any answers. To find her attacker, the cops also used some investigative methods that were not very good. Dr. Hain, the medical inspector, found bite marks on Mabry's body while she was being killed. He called in a bite mark expert named Michael West because he thought they were probably made by the killer. West said he had invented a way to match bite marks to a specific mouth. He called this new discovery the West Phenomenon. This is where things got a little sketchy. West said that he was the only one who could do the research and that no one else could even take pictures of the body. The process itself was odd. West put on a pair of yellow safety glasses and bathed Mabry's body in ultraviolet light for hours. As of March 27, 1997, Hain began to match the models from West's method to the list of suspects. A guy named James Earl Gates was caught less than a week later for killing and raping Kathy Mabry. He was later found not guilty, and the person who killed Kathy and the truth of the West Phenomenon is still unknown. Number 5. The Smith Twins. The facts are that on July 18, 2008, a man killed Janai Coleman, a school teacher, while she was waiting for her daughter. He then stole her car. Later, police were able to figure out who killed her because of a cigarette butt that was discovered under the driver's seat of her stolen car. Damian Cruz, the officer in charge of the case, said that the spit sample from the cigarette fit a man named Donald Smith. Donald had been arrested before for drug crimes, and his profile fits what a security camera had seen during the killing. On February 3, 2009, he was caught. That should have been the end of the story, but things got even stranger when Donald Smith said that the killer was actually his exact twin. When police chose to check out Donald Smith's story, they looked for fingerprints on the car to see if he was telling the truth. Finally, proof was found that the prints at the crime scene did, in fact, belong to Ronald Smith, Donald Smith's identical twin brother. The police had to look for Ronald for 3 days before they finally found him at his parents' house. From the camera tape, both his parents and sister confirmed that Ronald, indeed, was the right twin. Also, Ronald's cell phone record showed that he was in the area where Coleman's car was dumped after she was shot. After Ronald was shown strong proof against him, he admitted to the crime. He was charged with murder on February 6, 2009. Number 6. The murder of Mary Rogers. Poe fans may know about the strange case of Mary Rogers from his short story, The Mystery of Marie Roget. On July 28, 1841, Mary Rogers' body was found floating in the Hudson River. When her body washed up on shore, cops saw that her face was so badly hurt that it was impossible to tell who she was. The press went crazy over the riddle of her death. When Mary's body was found, no forensic proof could be gathered, even though there were brutal marks on her body and witnesses saw her where she was before she disappeared. In fact, the case didn't move forward until 2 months after her body was found. When kids were playing in the woods near Elysian Fields in Hoboken, New Jersey, they found a woman's clothes and personal items hidden in a bush. This was the break. There was a white skirt, a scarf, an umbrella, and a handkerchief made of cloth with the letters M.R. stitched around the edge. One person who saw Mary go into the same woods with 6 guys the night she disappeared said they saw her again. Police searched the area for clues that could help them find the killer. The search didn't lead to anything. The case finished quickly, and Mary Rogers' murder was remembered for a long time. Number 7. The Highway of Tears. A remote stretch of highway through the forest in British Columbia is known as the Highway of Tears. It got its name because, over the past 30 years, nearly 50 women have gone missing on that road. As if that wasn't scary enough, there's a theory that all of the women may have been killed by the same serial killer. A group DNA sample has linked one suspect to at least some of the killings. A known killer, Bobby Jack Fowler, was caught after his DNA was found on the body of a woman who was killed on the Highway of Tears. He was also highly suspected of killing at least 2 more people, and maybe as many as 20. However, there is no proof to back this claim. Another issue with Fowler being the main suspect is that 3 more murders happened after he was jailed in 1996. The person who did it was still out there. In 2011, there was a huge search for the killer. The Canadian government even started to force cab drivers to give DNA samples in order to find the tiniest bit of information that could help them find the criminal. The scary things that happen near the Highway of Tears remains a terrifying mystery. Number 8. Kendrick Johnson's mysterious death. Kendrick Johnson was found dead in the gym at his high school in Valdosta, Georgia, in January 2013. It looked like the 17-year-old boy fell backward into a rolled-up gym mat and died. His death was ruled an accident. Even though there were no bruises or signs of foul play, the boy's family became suspicious because of how strange his death was. After a long back and forth between the boy's family, the coroner, and finally a grand jury, a new report was filed that said Kendrick had died from apparent non-accidental blunt force trauma. No one was charged with murder, but the case keeps getting stranger. During the second autopsy, it was found that the brain, heart, lungs, liver, and all the other vital organs from the pelvis to the skull were missing and had been replaced with crumpled newspaper. The funeral homeowner said that the organs were probably destroyed naturally because of how Kendrick's body was lying when he died. Still, It's clear that covering organs with a newspaper is not normal practice for exams. Even though there is a lot of proof that someone did this, the police still don't know what happened. Number 9. Colonel William Shais' grave. On December 15 and 16, 1864, the already bloody American Civil War spread to the city of Nashville. A Confederate colonel named William M. Shais was shot in the head from a very close distance on the second day of the Battle of Nashville. There should have been no more to the story, but an excavation of Colonel Shais' grave in 1977 showed that he wasn't done with the world yet. In December 1977, forensic scientist Dr. Bill Bass came to Nashville to look into a case of mischief at William Shais' grave. The grave had been dug up, and a person without a head was sitting straight on top of a cast iron coffin from the 1800s. The body looked like it was already badly decomposing, but some of the muscles and joints could still be seen to be fully whole. The forensic experts working on the case, including Dr. Bass, thought it was likely that the body did not belong to the colonel because it should have turned into dust by now. After looking at it some more, Dr. Bass said it had been dead for less than a year, which meant it could not have been Colonel William Shais' body. But the contradictions kept building up. Soon after the first probe began, the head of the body was found with a bullet hole in the brain. Also, the clothes and coffin did look like real things from the Civil War. The investigative experts were stumped for weeks by the answer, which was so easy it was almost funny. The cast iron box, which was a rare treat for someone with Colonel Shais' social standing, was strong enough to keep out any water, bugs, or air that would have sped up the decomposition process. The body was stuck in a time capsule because none of those things were there. Number 10. The mystery of British Columbia's floating feet. As of March 2007, tennis shoes started to show up on the shores of British Columbia's Georgia Strait. 11 pairs of shoes, some with feet still in them, washed up on the shore over the course of 5 years. Most of the ideas about the strange case said that a foot-obsessed serial killer planned each murder and sent the shoes to shore as a calling card. The case wasn't solved until February 2012. Stefan Zahojko's bones were found in one of the shoes. In 1987, his capsized boat had been found in the same body of water. The doctor decided that the death was just an unfortunate accident, most likely caused by bad weather. The same guess was reluctantly used to explain the rest of the strange shoes. British Columbia could sleep well at night because Mother Nature was the only serial killer on the run. There's still no clear answer to why the shoes were the only thing that made it back to land. In any case, this is the most bizarre forensics case the area has ever seen. Which of these do you find most bizarre? Is it the mystery of British Columbia's floating feet, the West phenomenon, or that of Dr. John Schneberger? Let's hear your thoughts in the comments section. If you'd like to see more videos like this, all you have to do is like this video and subscribe to our channel. And if you want to get notified whenever we release a new video, click that bell button. It's been such a ride. Thanks for watching.